In the final moments of Return of the Jedi, Darth Vader made the ultimate sacrifice, turning on the Emperor to save his son. In doing so, he fulfills his destiny and redeems himself, not as Vader, but as Anakin. For years, we have watched that emotional scene without ever knowing exactly what Anakin was thinking as he died. But thanks to the canon short story Brotherhood, we finally get that answer. This story is from the book Return of the Jedi from a Certain Point of View, and it gives us a rare and powerful look into Anakin's final thoughts. As his life faded away, his spirit transitions into the Force, and he reconnects with Obi-Wan in the afterlife. As his body burned with pain from the Emperor's lightning and the damage from years of battle and decay finally caught up to him, Anakin felt something he hadn't felt in decades: clarity. After years of darkness, after living under the mask of Vader, he was himself again. Not a Sith Lord or a weapon, just Anakin. As Luke pulled him into the hangar and tried to save him, Anakin already knew he was dying. But he wasn't afraid. He was at peace. There was pain, but it was the pain of a soul letting go, not a body falling apart. He asked Luke to remove his helmet because he wanted to see his son with his own eyes, to look at the future of the galaxy and know it was safe. That moment was everything. For so long, Anakin had been trapped behind the cold, impersonal mask of Vader. It wasn't just armor, it was a prison, a symbol of the life he had chosen and the person he had become. But in those final moments, he got to be a father again, a Jedi, even if only briefly. And when he told Luke, "You were right about me," he meant it. That wasn't Anakin clinging to life, it was him letting go. As his breath faded and the mechanical systems that kept him alive went silent, Anakin expected darkness. After everything he had done, after all the suffering he had caused, he thought that death would bring punishment or oblivion, but instead he found something else: light. He didn't feel his body anymore. What he felt was a sense of consciousness. The Force embraced him, not as Vader, not even as Anakin, but as something deeper, something whole. There was no fear or anger, just stillness, and in that stillness, he realized the Force wasn't punishing him, it was welcoming him home. Anakin's senses returned, not in the way a living being feels the world, but through the Force itself. He could feel energy flowing all around him: life, death, and renewal. He felt the galaxy breathe. It was beautiful, and he began to understand that death wasn't the end, not for a Jedi. And then, in that tranquil space between life and the cosmic force, he heard the unmistakable voice of Obi-Wan. For a moment, Anakin braced himself, thinking that Obi-Wan would condemn him, judge him for everything: Order 66, Mustafar, Padme, but that condemnation never came. Obi-Wan didn't speak with bitterness or blame, he was simply there, present and patient. He greeted Anakin not as a fallen apprentice, but as an old friend, as a brother. The weight of that simple gesture, of presence without judgment, was overwhelming. This moment shattered every expectation Anakin had. He had betrayed Obi-Wan in the worst ways imaginable, and yet here Obi-Wan stood beside him, offering peace instead of punishment. Anakin didn't know what to say, but he didn't need to say anything. Obi-Wan understood, as he always had. But Anakin's guilt wasn't gone. He remembered everything he had done as Vader. The screams, the destruction, the fear he had spread across the galaxy. He carried those memories into death. He remembered the Jedi Temple, cutting down people who had once called him friend. He even asked Obi-Wan if he remembered Mustafar, the duel that ended everything. Anakin still saw Obi-Wan's face, heartbroken, leaving him to die. That moment had haunted Anakin more than any other. He could feel the weight of every sin, every betrayal. He had been the chosen one, prophesied to bring balance, and instead he had nearly destroyed everything. And yet Obi-Wan didn't dwell on it. He simply said, "Yes, I remember." And then he smiled. That smile told Anakin everything. That he was forgiven, that it was over, that whatever weight he had carried for so long was no longer his alone. In that moment, Anakin realized something profound. Redemption doesn't erase the past, it transforms it, and through that transformation, peace is possible. For the first time in decades, Anakin allowed himself to see Vader not as his identity, but as a scar or a wound, something he had once believed defined him, but now understood was only a chapter in a much larger story. He didn't need to hold on to that pain anymore. He thought of Padme, of her final words, that there was still good in him. He thought of Luke, who had believed those words with every fiber of his being. And now, in the presence of Obi-Wan and the embrace of the Force, Anakin realized that they were right. He wasn't Vader. He never truly had been. He was lost, broken, manipulated, but not destroyed. And now, with clarity, he could finally be whole. Anakin shed the identity of Vader like a second skin. The armor and the mask were gone. The anger was gone. What remained was the man he used to be, the Jedi who fought for peace, who loved deeply, and who had once stood alongside Obi-Wan as a brother. The transition into the Force wasn't violent. It wasn't sudden. It was peaceful, like breath flowing out into the wind. Anakin felt the Force move through him, not as a tool, but as an extension of himself. He didn't lose who he was in life, he simply became more in death. He saw the Force not as light or dark, but as balance, as understanding and truth. He understood that the Force wasn't about domination or submission, it was about harmony, connection, and compassion. It was what Yoda had tried to teach him, and what Obi-Wan had always lived by, what Luke had reminded him of in the end. And then Anakin stood, not physically, but as a presence, a shimmering outline of his former self. Not in armor, but in robes, as the Jedi Knight he had once been, the one Obi-Wan trained, the one Padme believed in, and the one Luke saved. He was truly Anakin Skywalker again. As the battle ended and the second Death Star was destroyed, Luke looked out into the forest of Endor and saw three shimmering figures: Obi-Wan, Yoda, and now Anakin. Anakin didn't speak. He didn't need to. His presence said everything. He was proud and at peace. He watched Luke from afar, knowing his son was safe and that the future was in good hands, that the prophecy was fulfilled, not in violence but in compassion. Anakin felt the warmth of the celebration. He saw Leia, knowing that she was his daughter, smiling with the same strength Padme once carried. Through his children, Anakin saw a galaxy healing. And in that quiet moment, as fireworks and music lit the sky, Anakin smiled. He didn't need recognition or applause. He had everything he ever needed: forgiveness, peace, and the knowledge that his children would build a better galaxy. The story of Anakin Skywalker doesn't end with a scream in a throne room or the hiss of a respirator going silent. It ends with peace, reflection, and forgiveness. The short story Brotherhood gives us one of the most beautiful and haunting perspectives in all of Star Wars: the thoughts of a man who was once a monster finding redemption in death. Anakin didn't become one with the Force because he was perfect. He became one with the Force because he finally let go of his fear and hate. He let go of Darth Vader. He remembered that he was Anakin Skywalker. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did. And as always, may the Force be with you.